We have this peculiar idea that kindness should naturally earn respect. That if you are gentle, considerate, endlessly accommodating, the world will somehow bow its head and say, "Ah, yes, this person is good." But I don't mean kindness as wisdom. I mean kindness as constant self-erasure. And here's what nobody tells you. That kind of kindness can quietly teach people how not to value you. Have you ever felt confused by that? Nobody really prepares you for this part of life. You grow up believing that being nice is the highest virtue. Be polite, don't upset anyone, put others first, be the good one. And for a while it seems to work. People like you, they come to you, they rely on you. But then, slowly, something shifts. They interrupt you more. They dismiss your opinions. They expect your time, your energy, your emotional labor without asking. And when you finally hesitate, when you finally say no, they look at you as if you've betrayed some unspoken contract. Nobody tells you this, but extreme kindness can become a role you never agreed to play. And once you're in that role, it's very hard to step out of it without resistance. Do you ever feel exhausted from always being the understanding one? Do you ever notice how your generosity is remembered, but your boundaries are forgotten? Do you ever wonder why the more you give, the less seriously you're taken? Here's where it gets interesting. What if the problem isn't your kindness at all? What if it's how that kindness is being expressed and what it unconsciously teaches others about your relationship with yourself? Because this is not a story about becoming cold or selfish. This is about understanding a subtle psychological and spiritual paradox that almost no one talks about. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let me share 5 things about why people stop respecting you when you're too kind, and what this reveals about human nature, including your own. 1. The first thing you must understand is this. People don't respect kindness that has no weight behind it. Now, this sounds uncomfortable, I know, but let's define what we mean by weight. Kindness with weight comes from choice. Kindness without weight comes from fear. When you're kind because you can walk away but choose not to, that's felt. When you're kind because you're afraid of conflict, rejection, or being disliked, that's also felt. It's like trying to pour the ocean into a teacup. Your intentions are vast, sincere, loving, but the container, your sense of self, has been made very small. And people respond not to the ocean, but to the teacup. I once knew someone who was universally described as the nicest person you'll ever meet, and yet people constantly spoke over them, borrowed things without returning them, and assumed their availability. Why? Because their kindness never came with the possibility of refusal. Here's the profound part. Respect arises when others feel that you respect yourself. Not loudly, not aggressively, but quietly, unmistakably. This is why kindness without boundaries slowly loses its power. It's not kindness anymore, it's compliance, and compliance does not inspire respect. The second and even more important thing is that overkindness teaches people how to treat you. This is where it gets dangerous. Human beings are constantly learning, often unconsciously, what behavior is acceptable with you, not from what you say, but from what you allow. Think of it as a stage play. You play the role of the understanding one, the forgiving one, the one who doesn't mind. And so others adjust their lines accordingly. If you never object, you silently say, "This is fine." If you always adapt, you quietly announce, "My needs are flexible, yours are fixed." Watch what happens in nature. A garden left unattended doesn't become peaceful, it becomes overgrown. Boundaries are not walls, they are definitions. And when those definitions are missing, people don't feel guided, they feel unchecked. This is why some of the most respected people are not the kindest in appearance, but the clearest in presence. They know where they end, and that clarity is deeply stabilizing to others. So when people begin to disrespect you, it's rarely sudden, it's cumulative. 1,000 small allowances that taught you you would always bend. And that's the secret most kind people never realize. The third thing, which is perhaps the most insidious, is that excessive kindness can hide a fear of your own power. Now, this one requires honesty. Sometimes being endlessly kind is a way of staying safe. Safe from confrontation, safe from being seen as difficult, safe from discovering what happens when you take up space. It's like reading about swimming your entire life, but never entering the water. You know the theory, but you've never felt your own strength in motion. Highly sensitive people, empaths, introverts, they often sense the emotional undercurrents of a room immediately, and because they can feel impact so deeply, they try to soften it. But here's the paradox. When you dilute yourself to avoid disturbing others, you also dilute your authority. Even Jesus walked away from crowds. Even the Buddha left situations that no longer aligned. Withdrawal is not cruelty, it is discernment. Think about muddy water. The more you stir it, the cloudier it becomes. But when you let it settle, clarity emerges on its own. Your presence has weight when you're not constantly adjusting it to fit everyone else's expectations. And this is why people unconsciously test you, not because they want to dominate you, but because they're looking for the edge. And if there is no edge, they keep pushing. The fourth and most critical of all is that respect requires tension, and kindness alone removes it. Now, tension sounds negative, but it isn't. Tension is simply the awareness that something matters. A guitar string must be tight enough to produce music. Too loose, and there's no sound at all. When you're endlessly agreeable, there's no tension in your presence, no risk, no consequence. People feel most respectful towards those whose yes has meaning because their no exists. Do you ever notice how you lean in when someone speaks carefully? How clarity commands attention? This is because respect is born where certainty meets restraint. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to become harsh. Sometimes all it takes is a pause, a calm refusal, a sentence spoken once and not repeated. And here's the beautiful secret. When you introduce this kind of grounded tension, the right people don't leave, they adjust. Only those who benefited from your self-neglect feel threatened. And that tells you everything you need to know. And the fifth thing, which changes everything, is this. True kindness includes yourself. This is where it all comes together. Kindness that excludes you is not virtue, it's abandonment. You are allowed to be warm and firm. You are allowed to be compassionate and unavailable. There is no shame in choosing rest over explanation. The more you let go of the need to be liked, the more naturally respect appears, because you're no longer negotiating your worth in every interaction. Think of the finger pointing to the moon. People get fixated on the finger, your behavior, your politeness, your softness. But the moon is your being. And when your being is aligned, your kindness becomes magnetic rather than depleting. That's why boundaries don't make you less loving. They make your love sustainable. And that is wisdom. So here we are back to where we started, with kindness and respect. All of these ideas connect because they point to one simple truth. People don't respond to what you give, they respond to what you stand on. The beautiful paradox is this. The moment you stop trying to earn respect through goodness, respect quietly arrives through presence. You are not broken. You are not naive. You are not too much. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a refined instrument. But every instrument requires tuning. And when kindness is tuned with self-respect, it stops being something people take from you, and it becomes something they feel from you. That's the shift, from approval to alignment, from performance to being. And once you make it, the whole game changes. So the next time you find yourself over-explaining, over-giving, over-accommodating, pause and ask yourself gently, where am I in this? Remember what we've explored today. Kindness is not about disappearing, it's about appearing fully. You are the universe experiencing itself through a sensitive lens, and that sensitivity deserves care, especially from you. And so, the journey continues, quietly, wisely,
exactly as it should.